Hi, Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection. I'm going to show you how to make this card using a Stampin' Up jig and a sheet of acetate, as well as using the ombre ink pad to create a background for our watercolor paper. And we're going to mat it on black and on emerald envy. So the sizes are your basic card size, which is 5.5 by 4.25. Then the matte size, which is 5.25 by 4. And then I'm using the watercolor paper, and the acetate is both at 5 3 3/4. So you'll need StazOn, and we're going to be using the Wetlands stamp set. So let's get started. So I've taken my watercolor paper and I spritzed it with water. I used my ombre ink pad and I just kind of worked it across to create the background. I then took some Daffodil Delight that was mixed with alcohol in my stamping spritzer, and I kind of sprayed it across to kind of give that yellow hue across my background, and my cardstock is drying. Meanwhile, I've taken my acetate and I've put it down on my grid paper. I've put it in place with two post-it notes. I've got a F-size acrylic block that I am lining up with my Stampin' Up jig right over my acetate. I've set down my stamp where I think I want my image, and I'm just going to lay my block down and pick up my stamp. I'm going to open up my StazOn, and I'm going to ink it, just kind of rubbing it around, pick up the ink. I'm going to hold on to my Stampin' Up jig. Down, straight down, just hold it. Straight up. And that's actually a very crisp image, and I'm pretty happy with that. The problem with stamping on acetate is if you do not have a very still image and your block moves, your image will get blurred, and it's very frustrating. However, you can just use your StazOn and you can wipe off the acetate if you're not happy with it and start again. That's kind of the neat thing about stamping on acetate. So I now want to stamp my greeting. So I'm going to take off my birds. They're clean. I'm going to take my greeting off this block, and it's clean, so I'm going to put it right where I think I want it, which is right there. Again, I'm going to take my block, okay, I'm going to ink up my greeting. See that? My block moved and it got all blurry, but I'm just going to wipe it off with my StazOn. Carefully. I'm just going to get one of my dry ones down here and kind of dry off my acetate. I'm going to take another shot at it. So again, it is so important just to hold on to your Stampin' Up jig, hold on to your thing, down, up. perfect. It took me quite a few tries to get this right, so this is something that you kind of have to mess around with and practice, but it turns out a really nice card. So now I have my 2 images stamped on my acetate. Thinking of you and the little birds, and they're very nice and crisp, which I think you can see how nice and crisp they are. So the Stampin' Majig did its job. So now I'm going to take my my background, which is dried. I'm going to let my acetate set. These out of the way, and I'm going to get my grass, and I'm going to use a smaller block this time, and I'm going to use Memento ink now, and I'm just going to stamp some of these stalks there, and my acetate's going to go on top of it like that. So let me clean off some ink. So now that I have that done, I'm going to use my tear tape, and I'm going to put a piece of tear tape right along the top of my card. I'm going to pick it up with my X-Acto blade. And I'm going to lay my acetate right on top of my watercolor paper in line with my tear tape, and that is going to fasten that to my watercolor paper. I'm then going to go ahead and adhere it to my black matting. And put it onto my card. And just put it there like that. And there you go. Just leave it like that. It's going to kind of, your acetate's going to kind of float on top of your image. And you have your greeting, as well as in the background you have your stalks of wheat. There's another example. Here I went ahead and I stamped some of the stalks on top of the acetate, and I put the greeting in the background. And here I stamped the greeting on the acetate, and I centered it a little bit better. But there's an example of how you stamp on acetate using StazOn ink. You can use your spritzers with some ink in it to add some color across your paper after you've used your ombre ink pad to watercolor the background. And that's in my previous video. So hopefully this is a neat project. It makes some great masculine cards, and hope you give it a try. This is Kat Chancellor, Stamp Art Connection. Happy stamping.